Before we begin, allow me to ask you this. Do you have a small bowl of nuts sitting on your kitchen counter or your living room table? A familiar snack, a little habit to enjoy while you read the morning paper or watch your favorite TV show in the evening. Most of us believe that it's one of the healthiest choices we can make, and in many cases, that is absolutely true. But what if I told you that depending on what's in that bowl, you could be unknowingly doing one of two things? Either you are building a sturdy shield to protect your heart from the damages of time, or you are silently inviting in some unwelcome guests, ones that are slowly weakening your cardiovascular system right under your nose. Let's think about this more directly. Every nut you eat carries its own set of instructions for your body. Some nuts carry instructions to soothe inflammation, relax your blood vessels, and keep your cholesterol stable. They work silently to protect and strengthen your cardiovascular system from the inside. But other nuts, despite looking healthy, can carry a different set of instructions. They might contain compounds that place an extra burden on your kidneys, or have an imbalance of fats that can silently promote inflammation, the number one enemy of a healthy heart. The question I want us to answer together tonight is, do you truly understand the instructions you are putting into your body every day? And that is why this conversation is different. Tonight's content isn't a dry nutrition lecture. We are going to look together at the lesser-known truths about the 12 most common nuts. We will talk about their real impact on the blood pressure inflammation levels and overall heart health of a person over 60. This is practical information based on clinical experience designed to help you make better choices for yourself. Stay with me because knowledge is power, and in this case, it just might be the power to protect your heart. Now let's talk about the best choices, the true friends to our hearts. And let's begin with a humble nut that perhaps we don't always think of first: hazelnuts. Many of us only know hazelnuts from the flavor in our candies or coffee. But their true value, especially for the health of a person over 60, runs much deeper. Think about this. One of the biggest challenges our hearts face as we age is that our blood vessels tend to become stiffer. This rigidity forces the heart to work harder to pump blood throughout the body, and it's one of the primary causes of high blood pressure. Hazelnuts are a fantastic source of monounsaturated fats, the heart-healthy kind, and vitamin E. This combination works like a natural conditioner, helping to maintain the flexibility and elasticity of our artery walls. A flexible blood vessel means more stable blood pressure and a lighter burden on your heart. One of my patients, a 74-year-old woman named Carol, was always worried about her blood pressure numbers. I suggested she try adding a small handful of hazelnuts to her diet a few times a week. A few months later, she returned, and not only did her numbers look better, but she told me she felt lighter when walking uphill. It was a feeling she couldn't quite describe, but we know it's a sign of a more efficient circulatory system. So how can you easily bring this friend into your life? It's very simple. Try crushing about 5 to 6 hazelnuts and sprinkling them over your morning oatmeal or bowl of yogurt. It not only adds a delightful crunch, but is also a small yet meaningful way to start your day by taking care of your heart health. Our next friend on the list is likely more familiar to many. It is the walnut. And there is a very good reason why cardiologists, myself included, so often recommend this nut. If there is one common enemy to both our aging joints and a healthy heart, it is chronic inflammation. Think of inflammation as a small smoldering fire inside your body. It might be the reason your joints feel sore and stiff in the morning. But at the same time, that fire is also silently damaging your blood vessels. It makes the plaque within your arteries unstable, and this is one of the greatest risks that can lead to a heart attack. This is where walnuts truly shine. They are one of the richest plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s act as the body's natural fire department. They help to calm and extinguish that inflammatory fire. I had a patient named David, a retired carpenter. He came to me because the aches in his hands were making it difficult for him to pursue his woodworking hobby. I advised him to start adding a few walnuts to his daily diet. A few months later, he returned and told me that his joints felt much more flexible in the morning. But what was even more wonderful was that during his routine blood test, his inflammation marker HSCRP, a key indicator for cardiovascular risk, had also decreased significantly. He had soothed the pain in both his joints and his arteries with one simple action. What's the best way to enjoy them? A reasonable portion is about 7 walnut halves per day. You can eat them plain as a snack or break them up and add them to your lunch salad. It's a simple way to dispatch your own personal fire department on duty every day. Our third friend on the list is a special one. This isn't something you'll typically find on a supermarket shelf. It is a forgotten treasure, a food that nourished our ancestors for thousands of years: acorns. Now I know what you might be thinking. Acorns, isn't that food for squirrels? Yes, it is. But it was also once a staple food for many ancient cultures, including Native Americans. And there is a very wise reason behind that. A reason that directly relates to heart health. Your heart dislikes sudden changes, especially spikes and crashes in blood sugar. When your blood sugar shoots up and then plummets, it creates a state of stress for your entire body, including your delicate blood vessels. Unlike refined flours, acorns are rich in complex carbohydrates, fiber, and good fats. This means they release energy into the bloodstream very slowly and steadily. It's like pouring a steady stream of fuel into your engine rather than powerful, jerky bursts. A stable energy system helps to reduce the burden on your heart and keeps your blood vessels healthy. Of course, you can't just pick an acorn up and eat it. They need to be carefully processed to remove tannins, which are bitter compounds. This process, which usually involves soaking or boiling, is an act of patience. But the result is an incredibly nutritious flour. Today, you can find acorn flour in some health food stores or online. You can use it to replace a portion of regular flour when making pancakes or muffins. Adding acorns to your diet isn't just a nutritional choice. It's also a way to connect with the wisdom of the past. Have you ever wondered what foods our ancestors relied on to survive and thrive in good health? Sometimes the answer to our modern heart health lies right there in those forgotten lessons. Now, let's talk about a nut that many of us love, especially in holiday pies. It is the pecan, but I want you to think of them beyond their role as a baking ingredient. See them as tiny bodyguards for your cells. One of the natural processes of aging is what scientists call oxidative stress. But you can think of it in a simpler way. It's like rusting from the inside. Every day, our bodies face damaging elements from the environment and our own metabolism. These elements create unstable molecules called free radicals. These free radicals are like little specks of moisture, slowly causing rust on our healthy cells, including the cells that line the inside of our artery walls. This rust makes the artery walls weaker, more prone to damage, and more likely to form plaque, which is the root cause of heart disease. This is where pecans play their role. They contain a very large amount of antioxidant compounds, especially a form of vitamin E called gamma-tocopherol. These antioxidants act like a coat of rust-proof paint. They travel throughout the body and neutralize harmful free radicals, protecting your cells from damage. When you eat pecans, you are giving your body the tools it needs to keep your arteries shiny and healthy from the inside. One of my patients, a 68-year-old man named Frank, is an avid gardener. He said he wanted to make sure his engine was well maintained so he could keep doing the work he loves. We talked about adding a small handful of pecans to his diet a few times a week. For him, it was an easy way to visualize that he was polishing his arteries just like he maintains his garden tools. Our fifth friend on the list has a very unique characteristic, making it stand out from other nuts. It is the chestnut, the kind we often see being roasted warm during the winter months. What makes chestnuts special in our conversation about heart health is a nutrient we don't often associate with nuts, vitamin C. We usually know vitamin C for its role in boosting the immune system. But it has another incredibly important job. It helps the body produce collagen. Think of collagen as the mortar that holds the bricks in a wall tightly together. Inside our bodies, collagen is the glue that helps to keep our blood vessel walls from the largest arteries to the smallest capillaries strong and healthy. A strong blood vessel system is less likely to be damaged or leak under the pressure of blood flow. Unlike other hard and oily nuts, chestnuts have a very soft, almost potato-like texture after being cooked. This makes them a wonderful option for those of us who have sensitive teeth or sometimes find chewing difficult. One of my elderly patients, Eleanor, shared that it was very hard for her to eat hard nuts, but she could easily enjoy chestnuts. She would often boil and mash them into a warm side dish for her dinner. She said it gave her a feeling of being nourished and comforted, something she deeply cherished. The best way to enjoy them is when they are cooked. You can buy them pre-roasted or boil or roast them yourself at home. They can be eaten warm on their own or pured and added to soups for thickness and a natural sweetness. Think of them as a warm, comforting food that is gently reinforcing your vascular system from within. And the final protector in our team of heart-healthy friend that I want to introduce today is a small but colorful and mighty nut, the pistachio. The benefit of pistachios for cardiovascular health comes from two very important directions. First, they are an excellent source of potassium. Think of potassium as a partner to sodium salt in your body. While too much salt can raise blood pressure, potassium helps to balance that out. It helps the body get rid of excess sodium and helps the blood vessel walls to relax. For someone who is watching their blood pressure, ensuring an adequate intake of potassium is an incredibly smart strategy. But here is the second benefit one, that few people know about pistachios are one of the few foods that contain natural melatonin. Every night you toss and turn, unable to sleep, is a night that your heart has to work overtime. Your blood pressure rises and your heart rate doesn't get a chance to rest. A good night's sleep doesn't just help you feel refreshed the next day, it is an essential medicine for the cardiovascular system. Deep sleep is the precious time for your heart and blood vessels to recover and de-stress. One of my patients, a 71-year-old man named Arthur, had struggled with insomnia for years. This not only left him fatigued, but also caused his morning blood pressure readings to be consistently high. I suggested he try a simple routine, eating a small handful of unsalted pistachios about an hour before bed. He was amazed. He not only found it easier to fall asleep, but he also felt calmer. Over time, his morning blood pressure readings showed improvement as well. To enjoy them, choose the unsalted variety. A reasonable portion is about a small handful each day. You can eat them as an evening snack or sprinkle them on a salad. The slow act of shelling each nut can also be a gentle mindfulness practice, helping you to relax before bed. Pistachios are a reminder that sometimes taking care of your heart is as simple as ensuring a good night's sleep. Now we are going to move into a more difficult but equally important section. This is where we talk about some very common nuts, the ones many of us believe are perfectly healthy. And they aren't entirely wrong, but they have hidden aspects, a price, that I believe we as wise consumers should know about to make the best choices for ourselves. Let's start with a nut that is considered the star of the health world: almonds. There is no debate. Almonds contain many good things. They are rich in vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats. Nutritionally speaking, they are a fantastic choice. But there is another story behind every almond we eat. A story about water. Did you know that it takes over a gallon, about 3.8 liters of water, to grow a single almond? And the vast majority of the world's almonds come from California, a region that frequently faces severe drought conditions. Now, why is a cardiologist talking about this? Because I believe that true health isn't just about what happens inside our bodies. It's also about balance. When a food requires such an enormous amount of a precious resource to be produced, it creates a stress on the environment, on the farmers, and on our planet. For many people, myself included, knowing this has changed the meaning of the word healthy. So, does this mean you have to stop eating almonds completely? No, not at all. My advice is this: eat them consciously. Instead of eating them every day as a habit, perhaps see them as a treat. Savor each nut and be grateful for the story behind it. Consider rotating almonds with more sustainable options like hazelnuts or sunflower seeds, which require less water to grow. A handful of almonds is still good for your heart. But understanding the whole story can help us become people who are not only healthier physically, but also more conscious in each of our choices. The next nut on our list holds a very special place in many people's hearts because of its creamy, smooth texture. It is the cashew. They are delicious. There's no arguing that. But the story behind the cashew has two sides that I feel a responsibility to share with you. The first aspect doesn't lie within the nut itself, but in how it gets to us. The shell of a raw cashew contains an acidic oil similar to the toxin in poison ivy. In some parts of the world, workers, often women, have to shell these by hand under very unsafe conditions. This can cause painful chemical burns on their skin. Why am I talking about this in a health video? Because I believe that compassion and well-being are connected. Knowing that our enjoyment may come from the hardship of others can change how we feel about a food. The second aspect relates more directly to our health as we get older. Cashews contain a higher amount of compounds called oxalates compared to many other nuts. When we eat foods high in oxalates, our bodies need to process and eliminate them, and that job primarily falls to the kidneys. When we're young, this usually isn't a problem. But as we age, our kidneys age with us, and forcing them to work overtime to filter out a large amount of oxalates can create an unnecessary burden. For those with a history of kidney stones, this is particularly concerning. So, what is my advice? If you truly love cashews, look for products with a fair trade label. This ensures that the workers have been treated and compensated fairly. And for your health, enjoy them in moderation. Instead of eating a large bowl, see them as a garnish, just a few nuts to add flavor. Or, better yet, rotate them with lower oxalate options like pecans or macadamia nuts. Our choices not only affect our own bodies, but they can also create a positive impact on the world around us. The third nut on our list to be mindful of is not about ethics or the environment. It is a straightforward matter of safety. This is one of the most important lessons life teaches us. Not everything that looks familiar is safe. I am talking about horse chestnuts. If you take a walk in the park or along tree-lined streets in the autumn, you might see these nuts fallen on the ground. They have a glossy brown shell and a rounded shape, and they look very similar to the edible chestnuts we often roast during the holidays. This resemblance is precisely what makes them dangerous. Inside a horse chestnut is a toxin called ascalin. If ingested even in a small amount, This substance can cause severe symptoms like stomach pain, vomiting, and in more serious cases, disorientation or other neurological problems. What concerns me is our natural curiosity, or that of the young grandchildren who might be with us. A child could pick up a horse chestnut, thinking it's a gift from nature, and put it in their mouth. An adult who doesn't know better might also collect them to take home with good intentions. So the lesson here is very simple, but critically important. Trust what is sold, not what is found. Only eat the kind of chestnuts that are sold in grocery stores or farmers markets where they have been identified as safe for consumption. When you're out for a walk, teach your grandchildren that even if something looks delicious, we must never eat anything from nature unless we are 100% certain what it is. This is not just nutritional advice. This is advice about wisdom and safety. Protecting our hearts and our health sometimes is as simple as knowing what to stay away from. The next nut on our list is a truly luxurious one, perhaps the richest and most buttery tasting of them all. I'm talking about macadamia nuts. There's no doubt they are delicious, but it is their very richness that we need to be mindful of. Think of macadamia nuts as the rich cheesecake of the nut world. Would you enjoy a slice of cheesecake? Of course it's wonderful, but would you eat it every day? Probably not. Macadamia nuts have the highest density of calories and fat of all nuts. Just a small handful, about 10 to 12 nuts, contains nearly 200 calories and about 21 grams of fat. Now, it's important to clarify that most of the fat in macadamia nuts is monounsaturated fat, which is the heart-healthy kind. The issue isn't with the type of fat, but with the quantity. Because they are so delicious and easy to eat, it's very easy for us to overeat them without realizing it. A small bowl of macadamia nuts can contain the same amount of calories as a light meal. For those of us who need to manage our weight, a very important factor for heart health, this can silently sabotage our efforts. Furthermore, they also contain a small amount of saturated fat. If eaten in large quantities over time, they can contribute to an increase in your LDL bad cholesterol levels. So, does this mean you have to stay away from them completely? No, not at all. My advice is this: treat them like a dessert. Enjoy them as an occasional pleasure. Instead of eating a whole bowl, just have 4 or 5 nuts. Pair them with a few berries or an apple slice to add some fiber, which helps you feel fuller. Macadamia nuts are a great reminder that in nutrition, moderation is key. Some of the richest and most wonderful flavors in life call for the lightest and most conscious touch. The fifth nut on our list to be mindful of is a tiny, elegant nut often used to make dishes feel a little more special. It's the pine nut. We often see them sprinkled on salads or blended into delicious pesto sauce. Nutritionally, they have certain benefits. However, there is a strange and unpleasant phenomenon that sometimes occurs after eating pine nuts, something that not many people know about until they experience it themselves. It's called pine mouth syndrome. This is a rare reaction that causes a persistent bitter or metallic taste in the mouth. This unpleasant taste can linger for several days, sometimes even a week. It makes everything you eat afterward, whether it's your favorite soup or a simple piece of toast, taste strange and unappetizing. For anyone, this is an unpleasant experience. But for an older adult whose appetite may sometimes already be diminished, this can be even worse. It can rob you of the joy of eating one of the simplest and most important pleasures in life. Why am I talking about this in a video about heart health? Because health isn't just about numbers, it's also about quality of life. Anything that causes stress, discomfort, and reduces your joy can have an indirect negative impact on your overall health. Scientists believe this syndrome is often linked to poor quality pine nuts, which may have been harvested from non-edible pine species or stored improperly for a long time. My advice here is about prioritizing quality over quantity. If you enjoy pine nuts, don't buy the large non-branded bags to save money. Instead, treat them like an expensive spice. Buy them in small bags from reputable suppliers. Store them in the refrigerator to maintain their freshness. And if you're not sure, perhaps it's best to enjoy them at a trusted restaurant rather than taking a chance yourself. Protecting your heart sometimes also means protecting the simple pleasures that make our lives worth living. And finally, we come to an incredibly common nut, a food that has been with many of us since childhood. It is the peanut. They are in our lunches, in our snacks on road trips, and in the familiar jar of peanut butter in the pantry. Peanuts feel like home, but sometimes the most familiar things are the ones we need to examine most closely. First off, an interesting fact, peanuts are not actually tree nuts. They belong to the legume family, like lentils and peas. They do contain protein and some good vitamins, that's not wrong. But there are two main concerns I want you to be aware of, especially regarding heart health as we get older. The first concern is about the balance of omega fats. Peanuts contain a very large amount of omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 itself isn't bad, but the issue lies in the balance. The modern American diet is often already too high in omega-6 and too low in omega-3, the kind found in walnuts. This imbalance too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3 can promote chronic inflammation in the body. As we've discussed, inflammation is the #1 enemy of a healthy heart. The second concern is a potential risk called aflatoxin. Peanuts are grown underground in a moist environment, which makes them susceptible to a natural mold that can produce a toxin called aflatoxin. Large companies have very good quality control processes to minimize this risk. However, if peanuts are stored poorly or come from unreliable sources, this risk can increase. Aflatoxin can place a burden on the liver, the organ that plays a critical role in regulating your cholesterol. So, should you eliminate peanuts entirely? Not necessarily, but be smarter about how you eat them. Choose dry roasted, unsalted varieties to avoid unnecessary sodium and oils. Eat them in moderation. Small handful, about 10 to 12 peanuts, is enough, not a large bowl. And most importantly, make sure you are also eating plenty of omega-3 rich foods like walnuts or fatty fish to maintain a healthy balance. Sometimes the best act of healthcare is simply to rethink a lifelong habit and make small, smarter adjustments. We have traveled a long way together this evening. We've talked about the silent companions and the subtle deceivers in our pantries. Now, as we prepare to close, I want to leave you with this one thought. Your heart health isn't decided by one big meal, but by the hundreds of small choices you make every day. And the choice of what goes into your nut bowl is one of the most powerful. Today, I'm not asking you to change everything. I'm only inviting you to do one thing. Look at your nut bowl with new eyes, eyes of understanding, of compassion, and of wisdom. If what I've shared today has spoken to you, if you feel you have gained the strength to make better choices for yourself, I sincerely ask you to do something small but very meaningful. Please go to the comment section right below this video and write a simple commitment. My heart deserves this wisdom. Why? Because when you write those words, you're not just telling me, you are telling yourself. You are turning an intention into a promise. And when you see others doing the same, you will know that you are not alone on this journey of taking care of your health. I am Dr. Laura, and I believe that every one of us has the power to be the best protector of our own heart. Thank you for listening. Stay well and choose wisely.